I spent years chasing the next improvement, the next achievement, the next piece of information, convinced that constant progress was the key to a better life. That's the message we hear everywhere. Influencers tell you to do more. Books push you to become more. YouTube videos promise you'll get more done. But eventually I hit pause because none of it actually made me feel fulfilled. Instead of asking myself what else I needed to add to my life, I asked a different question. What could I remove? What habits could I let go of that would make life feel simpler, calmer, and more meaningful? That question changed everything. Over time, I identified 21 things I intentionally stopped doing. I've grouped them into 5 categories, and in each one I saved the most impactful lesson for last. Let's jump in. The first category is your mind. The first thing I stopped doing was constantly thinking about my problems. Rumination is one of the fastest ways to trap yourself in a negative cycle. Research has shown that repeatedly dwelling on your problems can significantly increase the risk of depression and emotional distress. I realised I was spending far too much mental energy replaying my mistakes, weaknesses, and worries. Eventually, I decided to let them exist without feeding them. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, and we're all figuring things out as we go. When your mind starts replaying every problem on repeat, tell it to slow down. The more attention you give your problems, the bigger and more overwhelming they seem. The second thing I stopped doing was worrying about what other people think. If you could somehow measure all the hours people spend imagining what everyone else thinks about them, the number would be unbelievable. Most of that time is completely wasted. Instead of living your life, you end up trying to manage opinions that often don't even exist. And even if someone does have an opinion about you, it rarely has any real impact on your happiness. Stop handing your peace of mind over to imaginary conversations in other people's heads. It's simply not worth it. The third thing I stopped doing was spending time on social media. Just because millions of opinions are available every second doesn't mean you need to consume them. Social media constantly competes for your attention, fills your mind with noise, and quietly steals hours from your life. I stepped away from apps like X, Instagram, and TikTok, and the difference was immediate. I gained back time, mental clarity, and the ability to actually experience my own life instead of watching everyone else's. The fourth thing I stopped doing was assuming I already knew everything. As you get older, it's easy to believe you've seen it all. You stop noticing the ordinary because it no longer feels new. But there's an interesting idea that when life feels repetitive and predictable, time seems to pass faster, making your years feel shorter. So now I intentionally look at the world with fresh eyes. I imagine I'm seeing everything for the very first time. A simple park bench suddenly becomes fascinating. Think about how many conversations happened there, how many people rested there after long days, how many memories it quietly witnessed over the years. When you become curious about ordinary things again, life feels richer. Everyday moments become more meaningful, and time seems to slow down in the best possible way. The second category is food. The fifth thing I stopped doing was constantly eating something different. A surprising amount of time disappears just deciding what to eat and preparing a different meal every day. It can feel like you're always chasing the next craving. Good food absolutely matters, but I realised I didn't need every meal to be exciting. Most days I stick with simple meal prep food that's healthy, affordable, and easy to make. It saves time, saves money, and keeps me feeling good. Sometimes simplicity is the better choice. The sixth thing I stopped doing was drinking alcohol on a regular basis. Alcohol dulls your senses, affects your memory, and often makes the following day feel like a waste. Sharing a few drinks with friends on special occasions can absolutely be enjoyable, but I became much more intentional about when I drank. As a result, I have more clear memories, more productive mornings, and far fewer days spent recovering instead of living. The seventh thing I stopped doing was relying on supplements. The supplement industry is everywhere, and it's constantly telling you that you need one more powder, capsule, or miracle ingredient. I decided to simplify things and only take supplements when I had an actual deficiency like vitamin D. Everything else, from trendy mushroom blends to the latest wellness powders, I stopped buying into. I'd rather get most of my nutrition from real whole foods whenever possible. It's simpler, feels better, and comes with fewer unnecessary risks. The eighth thing I stopped doing was rushing through meals. In a culture that's always pushing for more speed, even eating becomes something people try to finish as quickly as possible. I stopped treating meals like another task to check off. Now I slow down. I actually taste my food, notice what's happening around me, and enjoy the experience. I've taken inspiration from cultures where meals are meant to be appreciated, where people gather, relax, and let the moment unfold instead of racing through it. The ninth thing I stopped doing was believing every meal had to be shared with someone else. A lot of people feel uncomfortable eating alone. I used to think that way too. Now I'll happily grab lunch or dinner by myself simply because I enjoy it. I don't have to negotiate where to eat or what to order. I can quietly observe the people around me, think my own thoughts, and fully enjoy the present moment. Eating alone has become something I actually look forward to. Every meal feels like a small personal adventure and a chance to slow down, reset, and appreciate wherever I happen to be. The third category is being present. The 10th thing I stopped doing was wearing earbuds every time I went for a walk. There was a time when I felt like every spare minute had to be productive. If I was outside, I was listening to a podcast, an audiobook, or something that promised to teach me another lesson. Now I leave my earbuds at home. When I walk, I simply walk. I pay attention to the sounds around me, notice the little details I used to overlook, and actually experience the environment I'm moving through. Like I mentioned earlier, I try to see ordinary things with fresh curiosity. That simple shift has made everyday walks far more enjoyable than constantly filling my mind with information. The 11th thing I stopped doing was making reservations for everything. Trying to book the perfect restaurant at the perfect time can turn something that's supposed to be relaxing into another source of stress. Instead, I choose a neighbourhood I'd enjoy exploring and simply wander. I stroll through the streets, glance through restaurant windows, and stop wherever catches my attention. If there's a table available, great. If not, I keep walking until I find another place. I've discovered some of my favourite restaurants this way, and every meal feels like a small adventure instead of another scheduled appointment. The 12th thing I stopped doing was documenting every moment. It's incredibly tempting to pull out your phone every time something interesting happens. Social media has trained us to believe every experience should become a photo, a video, or a post, but I realised that constantly recording life often keeps you from fully living it. Now I spend less time trying to capture memories and more time actually creating them. Some moments are more meaningful when they exist only in your own experience. The 13th thing I stopped doing was multitasking. Doing several things at once usually means you're not fully present for any of them. Cooking while the TV plays in the background, watching a movie while scrolling through your phone, answering emails during dinner. Instead, I try to give one activity my full attention. When I eat, I eat. When I watch a movie, I watch the movie. When I'm talking with someone, I'm fully there. Removing constant distractions has made everyday experiences much more enjoyable and helped me live with greater intention. The 14th thing I stopped doing was always taking the fastest route. For years, I treated every walk like a mission to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. Now, I deliberately slow down. If I have extra time, I'll take the more interesting street instead of the shortest one. I'll stop to look through bookstore windows, admire interesting architecture, notice someone's beautifully maintained garden, or smile when I pass a dog being walked through the neighbourhood. Getting somewhere is no longer just another task to complete. The journey itself has become part of the experience. The 4th category is exercise. The 15th thing I stopped doing was believing I had to work out every single day. Trying to maintain a perfect exercise streak can become mentally exhausting. It creates unnecessary pressure and makes you feel guilty whenever life gets in the way. I finally accepted that rest is part of progress. Taking a day off helps your body recover, and missing an occasional workout doesn't erase months of consistency. That mindset has made fitness feel much more sustainable. The 16th thing I stopped doing was exercising mainly to improve my appearance. When your primary goal is looking better, it's easy to become obsessed with the mirror and constantly judge yourself. Instead, I shifted my focus toward how exercise makes me feel. Moving my body gives me more energy, improves my mood, helps me think more clearly, and supports my long-term health. Those benefits last far longer than chasing a certain look, and they free up mental space for things that matter much more. The 17th thing I stopped doing was believing exercise had to happen inside a gym. For a long time, I thought fitness required a specific place, a specific schedule, and the perfect workout. Now I make movement part of everyday life. I take walks after meals. I'll do bodyweight exercises at home. I choose simple ways to stay active that fit naturally into my day. Making exercise easier has made it far more consistent while giving me greater flexibility and control over my schedule. The final category is finances. The 18th thing I stopped doing was wearing a completely different outfit every day. Constantly deciding what to wear creates more decision fatigue than most people realise. When I find clothes that fit well, feel comfortable, and work for my lifestyle, I simply buy several of the same or very similar pieces. It saves mental energy every morning, simplifies my routine, and gives my mind one less thing to worry about. The 19th thing I stopped doing was buying clothes for the brand name. This goes back to letting go of other people's opinions. I no longer feel the need to communicate status through what I wear. Choosing simple, unbranded clothing makes me feel less self-conscious, keeps my attention off appearances, and saves a surprising amount of money. It's a win in every direction. The 20th thing I stopped doing was buying coffee every day. Standing in line, paying premium prices, and walking away with a disposable cup just stopped making sense to me. Now I make my coffee at home exactly the way I like it and bring it with me in a travel mug. The process itself has become something I genuinely enjoy. It's peaceful, it saves money, it eliminates unnecessary waiting, and the coffee tastes exactly the way I want it. The 21st thing I stopped doing was bringing more things into my life than I was willing to let go of. Owning too much creates visual clutter, and visual clutter creates mental clutter. So I made one simple rule. Whenever I buy something new, I donate, sell, or recycle at least 2 things I already own. Over time, my home has become lighter, cleaner, and easier to maintain. More importantly, my mind feels lighter too. Less clutter, fewer distractions, and fewer unnecessary possessions have created a greater sense of calm than buying more ever could. I'd love to know what habit you're leaving behind this year as you slow down and focus on what truly matters. And if you want to dive deeper into breaking free from the fear of other people's opinions, check out the next video.